There's another Rochester, New York police cruiser. Actually, make that 2. Actually, make that 3. So we're here in downtown Rochester to see what's up with this demonstration that has been put together against basically Border Patrol searching folks on buses. Let's check it out.
Okay, first name is Justin, Justin. Last name is Delanois, Delinois. We are downtown here at the train station to organized against Customs and Border Patrol, looking into like trailways. So specifically, we're here for the bus system, but it also happens on train stations. Protesting the act of going on to these transportation networks and actively seeking out people who are undocumented or might have DACA and asking for verifying their status, as well as detaining people who are not DACA and do not have the proper paperwork.
Have you been seeing a lot of that happening, hearing a lot from people that's actually happening?
In terms of the community, there hasn't been as much, but in our campus at the University of Rochester, we actually have had a couple of students who are DACA be heavily questioned by Customs and Border officers while they're trying to travel back home. We had a few years ago, actually, a parent who is not DACA was almost detained here in Rochester when she was going back home from dropping her daughter off here at university for orientation. And luckily for her, that she had 2 young children who were American citizens, that they kind of turned a blind eye. But that's not something that always happens. If she would have been alone, who knows what the situation would have been. So for us in particular on our campus, where we have to have a lot of back and forth transportation, it is something that's very prevalent.
So, I mean, legally they have the right to do that. Do you think our country should be having a vigilance these days? I mean, how do they go about making sure?
Legally there's a lot of things that we used to do that we're still doing, and that just because something is legal doesn't make it right, and it's kind of overused, but they use the term slavery once legal, now it's not. Things like that. If you look at other countries that have completely changed their drug enforcement laws, when you have active criticism of something, you must reflect on it. So what we're trying to encourage is a reflection of the current laws that are in place in hopes that we can come to sort of a consensus that respects people's dignity. It's less of a question of the law that's on books, but more of a question of making sure that we as people are upholding the basic human dignities that we all deserve.
What's your hope from today's meeting of the demonstration?
My hope for today is that Rochester goes beyond the simple label of sanctuary city and actively starts trying to provide programs and policies to help undocumented people in Rochester, as well as the county starts making this effort. So it's one thing if Rochester is a hub, but when you start looking at the greater county and the surrounding counties where a lot of those migrant workers are moving about in, we need to start affecting those areas. So it's great if the hub of this county is safe, but where the people actually work and where they're living and where they're moving about is not safe. So my hopes is that the county is going to start getting involved in this, and we start taking this conversation a little more seriously beyond just the label of, let's be a sanctuary city. We need to start talking about what it looks like to have a representative who's going to be pushing for immigration reform at the federal level. We're going to have state representatives who should be trying to push things like DREAM Acts at the local level. So it's about making sure that we're pushing those elected officials to hear the people who cannot speak for themselves, right? As an ally, that's my duty. I have the privilege to be able to come out and at the forefront because I can vote, I can be engaged, I can be on the public front. So I'm hoping that we're able to push more locals to have a more in-depth approach to immigration.
Cool. And the name of your group, just so I have it on camera, is there an official name that you guys?
I'm a part of You Are Dreamers at the University of Rochester. It's a group that supports the undocumented and DACA students at the university. And then we're in conjunction with a lot of groups going on here. But the main group for me is You Are Dreamers. And then I also know we have the Workers Justice Center here as well.
Thanks,
Just a quick question. I'm saying for Davy V TV, and I don't edit out. I'm going to put everything. Don't worry. I'm not the mainstream media. You mentioned two important things. As a longtime activist against police brutality in the city for 20 plus years, I'm very passionate about stuff, being put into practice, not just talked about.
Exactly.
You mentioned Sanctuary City,
Yes.
which Rochester, New York Mayor Lovely Warren recently designated, if I can use that word.
Yep.
And again, it's good to talk, but where's the practice?
Where's the practice?
You also mentioned the county.
Yes.
Cheryl Denoff was the county executive. Do you think on a beautiful, sunny spring day in Rochester, New York, I know we still have snow, right? Do you think those two officials, it'd be nice, let's say, if they were present here,
Of course.
to put some behind their so-called
course.
Sanctuary City Declaration?
Of course.
What are your thoughts that those two folks are nowhere to be seen?
Well, I mean, it's no surprise that the county executive thinks that she has other priorities, but I think that when you go out into the counties, you really start looking at farm America. It's not this big metropolis that we're seeing downtown, right? So if anything, she should be here because these are, the people who are supporting her quote-unquote constituents, right?
As should the mayor, too.
As
Let's
should
not
the
leave
mayor.
the mayor, correct?
I'll let the mayor be because I'm sure she's definitely busy with a plethora of other things. What I'm not 100% sure on, but the
Well,
simple,
let's be careful on giving her a pass. But I respect your decency, so to speak. But let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. I mean that.
Of course, but I think that she needs to definitely step up to the plate because she's lacking on holding to her promises, and that's in many areas though. So
Thank you. Justin.